Hi everyone, Coldam here again with another VOX Immortalis commentary guide. This video is for the heroic difficulty of Lady Deathwhisper in Icecrown Citadel. To begin, the setup is pretty much the same that you'd use on normal. We use 2 tanks and 2 healers, and it's a good idea to have a balance between your physical DPS and your caster DPS if possible to help with the adds. As you can see, we also are doing the weekly, which spawns Darnovan here, and that adds a bit of an extra challenge, but it's not actually too bad. So we position the raid in the back here, as you can see, sort of spread around behind her, and this is primarily something we found that helps control the adds. Because they will aggro on healers almost immediately, this forces them to run up the stairs toward the group in the back of the room. And also, this keeps all the DPS basically on Deathwhisper or adds at all times. Whereas if you use the large portion of the room in the front, then you're going to have melee DPS especially moving back and forth, and they'll waste a lot of time traveling. So when we were learning this fight on Heroic, we found this was actually the best setup. And as you can see, I'm kind of in charge of handling Darnovan. And it's not too bad. He uses all the basic warrior abilities, charge, which will stun you, and mortal strike, intercept, things like that. But he's susceptible to slow, so as you can see, I'm dazing him quite frequently with piercing howl. And then when he does his blade storm, he will still remain on his primary target. So if you have a tank on him, as here, when he storms, he will still chase after the tank, so the tank can kind of control where he goes. Otherwise, you'll see that the 3 adds from either side are still like normal. They're just slightly more powerful, of course. And the way we handle those is usually just calling out and marking which one should be killed first. We really don't try to prioritize a particular add type over the other. We just pick whichever one's closest usually and try to burn it down before it has a chance to transition. We did find that just trying to prioritize like killing adherents before anything else, they'd often stand in the back and cast too long. So in this way, even if a fanatic is the first thing closest to the raid, then you're better off just killing that quickly. So here you can see DPS are swapping to the adherent, and they'll burn it down. And then once that dies, we'll call a new target. It's also important that your DPS recognizes when the adds are morphing. Like there you can see a fanatic just morphed. And of course that drops their regular humanoid form and they respawn as a skeleton form, reanimated. But when they do that, they also fully heal to full health. So your DPS basically should ignore attacking those because they'll just come back and heal every damage that was dealt. We also try to transition into the last phase without any adds up, which usually means we use Bloodlust on the next set of adds. We get Deathwhisper to around 300,000 mana, then we lust the next set of 3, and then burn them down and try to get her under 0 before the next set. And that usually works out well. Once we do that, it's important to know that you can't taunt her, so DPS needs to be careful transitioning, and the tank that's going to get her needs to be really quick with some high threat moves. As a warrior, I just basically prepare Shield Slam, Heroic Strike to hit at the same time. And make sure you have enough hit or expertise that those initial attacks aren't going to be missed. We also then drag her to the stairs here at the front of the room, as you can see. And the reason for this is, in normal, she will continue to spawn one at a time from the stairway. So you can see that adherent spawned. And the best thing we found is simply have DPS all switch to that immediately. Your tank that is currently not tanking Deathwhisper should quickly pick it up, but you only have to stun it or taunt it a couple times before it's going to die. The other thing you may have noticed is in Heroic she uses Dominate Mind, which is something taken from the 25-man version. So she will frequently control someone in the raid at random, a non-tank basically, and that lasts for only about 10 seconds, but especially DPS can really obliterate people if they're not handled. So we have our mage sheep, our shaman will hex and try to do that quickly. But I believe in this fight you'll still see how severe that can be when our mage gets mind controlled at one point and basically one-shots one of our shamans. Here it is right here. The top left grid, you can see our shaman was nearly full health, and then about 2 seconds later, from the mage blasting him and the death and decay, he was dead. So that's just something to be aware of. We also have a rep paladin that tries to frequently use a stun on charm people, and that will really help to just control them and buy the CC people time to get them CC'd. The other thing is kind of like normal, your tanks will get the Touch of Insignificance stacked up on them, which reduces threat generated by 20% per stack, and that'll go up to 5, of course. So basically you just need your 2 tanks to always be maximizing threat on Deathwhisper, so that by the time one tank that's currently tanking drops in threat enough, the second tank is actually the highest on the threat list. If your DPS is very extreme, you can have trouble with DPS passing tanks, although we usually don't have issues with that. But it's important to save salvation or intervenes or whatnot if you need help lowering threat on people. And lastly, the rest of the raid spreads out sort of in a semicircle at the bottom of the stairs. That's of course to watch for ghosts. Just like normal, they will explode when they reach someone. However, they won't one-shot you if you're full health, but the combination of a ghost explosion and a frostbolt or death and decay can kill people. So just try to stay spread out and run away from those. And lastly, you might have seen our Death Knight, who's normally DPS on this. Once we entered this phase, he decided to taunt and tank Darnovan by kiting him around so we could do the quest. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.